Today we're making over this beautiful ornate cabinet that I found at the thrift store for only $15. I think that by opening this, it used to be a DVD case. I do know it was made in China, it was mass produced, and it's not real wood. So the first thing I needed to do was clean the piece. I used my Dixie Belle's White Lightning Cleaner. For some reason I didn't catch that on film, but I did thoroughly clean the piece with the White Lightning Cleaner and my gloves. And then after that, I went through with some water just to make sure there was no cleaner residue left on the piece. Because this is not a wooden piece of furniture or veneer, I might have some trouble with adhesion, so I'm using Dixie Belle's Bonding Boss in clear. I add a total of 2 coats of Bonding Boss, and then I wait about 2 to 4 hours in between. I think I waited 4 hours. I went and did something else, then I come back and I add my next coat, and then I wait 24 hours before applying my paint. Now this is gonna ensure that my paint's gonna stick to all those details. And I don't leave it all lumpy and clumpy like that. Once I've got it applied, I take another dry brush and I just kind of get rid of all of those clumps. Now, if you've ever struggled with blending and you want there to be a really unique design on your piece, I highly recommend checking out the Dixie Belle Big Daddy brush. That's what I'm going to use to apply my paint. I'm using the colors Buttercream and Savannah Mist. I wet my brush with the mister, and the key to this whole entire thing of not getting any brush strokes and having a really gorgeous blend is making sure that the colors are separated on the brush and then using your water mister. That's most important. I mist the entire section before I paint it. I mist my brush, and that really helps with getting a gorgeous brush stroke free finish. Now this is only my first coat, so I'm not being super specific on where I want to place the white and the blues. I'm just kind of trying to cover it all, and especially because I have all those raised details, I got to get in all those like cracks and nooks and crannies. So I'm just getting the paint on the piece for my first coat, and then during the second one I really pay attention to placing the white and the blues. But I'm telling you, this is the easiest way to get just a really cool effect with your paint. It's like a blend without, having to use a million different brushes. I just keep them separated on the brush. If they start to get muddy, if the colors start to go together, just wipe it off with a rag and, make sure that on your plate or whatever you're using on your palette, that the colors are still separated. Now, if you've ever watched my videos before, I love to do a 2-color sort of blend on the tops of furniture. I just think it gives such a beautiful effect. And I really think that this is one of the easiest ways to get that. And if you're worried about the bristles on the brush being so much like a chip brush, they're really not. They're pretty soft. And if you spray your water with it, you're not gonna have any brush strokes. So don't worry about the brush strokes from the bristles. I think it's like a giant premium chip brush. So the bristles are soft and smooth. And look, literally it's that easy to get that look. It usually takes me quite some time to paint a piece of furniture even this size. But with this brush, I was done in like 20 minutes. I'm not even joking. And I feel like it gave it such a special effect. It gave it such a special look. So if you haven't tried this, give it a try, but make sure you got your water mister next to you. But if you're looking to add some texture, then don't use your water mister so much. Now here I'm applying my second coat, and I'm gonna be a little bit more specific on where I want the white and the blue to go. The first coat, it always looks kind of messy, no matter what, even when you're just painting with a solid color. The first coat, it's never great, but on your second coat, that's where you wanna perfect everything, because that's how it's gonna look once you're done. Now, since this is my last coat, I am taking a dry brush and I'm just kind of feathering it along, making sure that there's no globs because I have so many corners. I don't want anything stuck in the corner. And I do want to make sure that it's blended and that everything looks nice and smoothed out. And once that's dry, now I'm gonna add burlap to all those raised details. So for this, I'm dry brushing. I'm using my premium chip brush and I'm just loading a little bit on the edge of the brush and then I wipe most of it off because I don't want there to be too much. I don't want this paint to go all over the piece. I just want it to go on those raised details. Now for these raised details, there's actually going to be 3 steps we're taking. So the first is to cover it with burlap. I'm not completely covering it. You can still see some of that white and blue, but I'm giving it, I would say like medium coverage. And then I even have my rag that I'm going to rag some of it off, just wipe it off. These steps are gonna give it such a beautiful look. It's gonna look antiqued, it's gonna look aged and old and just gorgeous. Now I swear, it takes so long to do a piece of furniture because I'm always waiting for paint to dry. So instead I just grab my heat gun and I'm blasting it so that I can do the next step and I don't have to wait, an hour in between. My next step is to add a clear coat in satin. I'm doing this because I plan to add some glaze to the raised details and maybe into the corners. I just want that aged antique look to, and I want these details to really pop. So a glaze is gonna help that, but I need to seal it first so that when I wipe back my glaze, it comes off really easy. The chalk mineral paint is porous. It has a matte finish, so the glaze will stick onto it, and when I try to wipe it back, I won't be able to remove it. It'll be hard and it'll just kind of dirty the piece, and I don't want that. So adding this satin finish makes it smooth and I can wipe it off where I want with ease. As you can see, I'm taking this glaze and I'm gonna cover that entire area. And feel free to use your water mister if you feel like you're taking a really long time and you wanna kind of, reactivate that glaze. It doesn't reactivate, but the water does help to just keep it wet. Because I am taking my time to make sure that I get it in all the little creases on that flower in the front. And look at how easy this comes off with the rag, and that's because we sealed it first. Now for the last step, I'm going to dry brush one more time. I'm using Buttercream. I'm using a thin chip brush. Again, just like I did with the burlap, except I'm being a little bit more precise on where I'm adding the buttercream. I want it to be more on the outer edges and mostly just the raised details. Now I'm taking the buttercream and I'm gonna dry brush it onto the trim, on all of the edges, any of the corners, and even the knobs. If you were looking at this piece once it's all finished, it looks like it was so complicated to get here. But I love breaking it down so that you can see really we're not using any special products. It's just paint, a couple brushes, a water mister, just learning a couple techniques, and you can really make a work of art. You can do this with any color combination. And for the very last step in the whole entire makeover, I'm gonna seal the piece. I do this to protect it. We're gonna add 2 coats, waiting 2 hours in between the coats. And I'm using the Dixie Belle Clear Coat in satin. And again, I don't wanna leave any clumps or drips from my sealer. So once I apply it, I go back with a dry brush and I just get rid of any of the excess. Here's a reminder of what we started with, and here it is today. I just love how the glaze brings all those details out. We wouldn't have seen them unless we dried brushed and we glazed. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would love it if you hit that like button and consider subscribing, and I will see you next time.